My name is Rabbi Zalman Manela. Today we're going to be talking about happiness. Happiness is an obligation. It's a mitzvah to be happy. The Torah in Chumash Devarim, chapter 26, pasuk 11, commands us to be happy. You shall rejoice with all the good that the Almighty has given you. We're using the book, Sefer called Gateway to Happiness by Rabbi Zelig Pliska. This is a mitzvah. We are obligated to feel joy with what we were given by the Almighty. Why do we need a directive to rejoice, since we should automatically be happy when we have good things? Man's nature is to constantly want more than he presently has. He who has 100 wants 200, as the Medrash Koheles Rabbi tells us. Our moments of joy are mixed with sadness over what we lack. The Torah therefore commands us to rejoice with what we have. We should strive to feel a joy that is complete. Lack of joy with what we have is destructive both physically and spiritually. The Rambam advocates happiness in moderation. Be neither frivolous nor sad. Be consistently in a happy mood with a pleasant facial expression. It's a great mitzvah to be constantly in a state of happiness. Reb Chaim Vital lists constantly feeling happy with what you have as one of the four basic character traits that are essential to acquire. The other three are humility, appropriate silence, and control of desires. A person should seek as much worldly pleasures as he needs to live a life of vitality and happiness in the service of the Almighty. Whatever is necessary to reach this state is considered a necessity to live a Torah life. The reality and the ideal, Rabbi Yerucham Levovitz observed, people become so used to being unhappy they are aware of the needless misery they cause themselves. They imprison themselves by filling their minds with thoughts of resentment, hatred, envy, and desires. It's amazing how they tolerate living such a life. The only reason they do tolerate it is because they have become so used to living with such thoughts they feel it is the normal picture of life. They mistakenly think it's impossible for life to be any different. You have the ability to make yourself happier than you presently are. A person who mistakenly thinks there's nothing he can do to increase his happiness will fail to make the necessary effort to improve. The creation is for man to live a good life, and the directives of the Torah are instructions on how to live a life of joy. Creation is for man to live a life of pleasure and satisfaction, and not to live a life of toil and frustration, as so many people appear to be living. The Torah shows a person a straight path that will lead him to the ultimate in success and a life of joy and happiness. Not only in the afterlife will a person gain this joy, but even in this world, there is tremendous success for the person who follows the Torah's path. Some people mistakenly think that to follow the path of the Torah, one must reject everything worldly. They are under the misconception that one must live a life of suffering and deprivation and be submissive to others. This is not the Torah's path, which is referred to as the tree of life, as found in Sefer Mishlei, chapter 3, pasuk 18. The pasuk, chapter 3, pasuk 17, states explicitly, her ways are ways of pleasantness. The Torah's path is a path of joy. As it is stated, the person with a good heart has a continual feast. The happiness to strive for is an inner feeling of happiness that will accompany you throughout life. It is a feeling of happiness about your lot in the world and a feeling of happiness about your spiritual service. True cheerfulness, which is a precious treasure, must be distinguished from the light-hearted nonchalance of generally taking life easy and lack of seriousness. The cheerfulness considered precious is rooted not in frivolity, but in inner serenity attuned to the Almighty. It's a positive attitude, glad of life, but at the same time aware of its seriousness and the difficult challenges assigned by the Almighty. A convert to Judaism wrote, "Being Jewish has given me happiness, not the ephemeral, momentary kind that comes with money and sports cars, and which passes swiftly, leaving an empty feeling. The happiness that comes with Jewish living has to do with serenity of the soul, wholesomeness and satisfaction at the deepest level. Happiness is an obligation to oneself, to one's fellow man, and to the Creator. So there is no comparison between doing something with enthusiasm and joy and doing it without enthusiasm and joy. If we would do everything with enthusiasm, there's no limit to the elevated levels we would reach. Enthusiasm generates power. A person with enthusiasm is able to overcome laziness and pursue wisdom and higher spiritual levels. Happiness will heal a person from illness. A cheerful disposition is an inestimable treasure. It preserves health, promotes convalescence, and helps us cope with adversity. The Torah prohibits us from endangering our health. We must be more stringent in these matters than the other prohibitions. Lack of happiness is very dangerous to one's health. A wide range of psychosomatic diseases are caused by undesirable emotions such as sadness, worry, envy, anger, and excessive anxiety. Happiness is an obligation because of our relationships with others. The Torah ideal is to greet each and every person with a pleasant facial expression. A young man came to Rabbi Nosson Zvi Finkel to announce his engagement. Noticing the young man wore a very solemn facial expression, Rabbi Nosson Zvi lectured him on the importance of having a cheerful countenance. Rabbi Finkel stressed that while this is a great obligation at all times, it's especially necessary when he's in the presence of his fiancée. People want others to smile and show signs of happiness when they address them. You have the ability to serve as a shining sun to everyone with whom you come into contact. Even a tiny infant can differentiate between a face that is shining and one expressing depression and resentment. If you smile to an infant, he will smile back at you. Who can tell what is healthier and more conducive to growth for a child? The food he eats and the expressions of love you show him. A child who lacks friendly smiles is like a plant missing sunlight. You are happy, you are able to cheer up other people, which is a great act of kindness. A happy person spreads his positive feelings. As the family eagerly waited traveling for the wedding of Rabbi Chaim Shmulevitz's youngest son, Rabbi Chaim called one of his oldest students to his home. The student was having difficulties finding a wife, and Rabbi Chaim counseled him at length, providing advice and encouragement. Today, I'm marrying off my youngest child, the Mir Rashivas told the student. My joy is very great. I thought to myself, who on this special day can I help out? I thought of you. When a person is unhappy, he tends to be cross and angry with other people, as the Pele Yoetz brings down. Happiness is an obligation to our Creator. The Baal Shem Tov said, the Almighty has sent you into this world on an appointed errand. It is His will that you will accomplish your errand in a state of joy. Sadness implies an unwillingness on your part to carry out the Almighty's will. When a person who follows the Torah is happy with all the good the Almighty has bestowed upon him, he is fulfilling the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem, sanctification of the Almighty's name. People will see how fortunate are Torah observers. A Torah observer who is depressed and talks about what he is missing and what is wrong with his life causes others to look down at and avoid Torah observance. This is a Chilul Hashem a most serious offense. This lack of happiness is the root of the retribution enumerated in the Torah, Chumash Devorim, chapter 28, pasuk 47, and it is stated that the retribution comes because of a failure to serve the Almighty with joy and a good heart. The righteous man will enjoy even a small amount of food to such a degree he might appear to be a glutton. Such a person enjoys what he has not from a hedonistic love or pleasure, but from an awareness of the benefits the Almighty has bestowed upon him. He takes pleasure in becoming closer to the Almighty, and this benefits him both physically and spiritually. Rav Chaim Volozhin wrote, "When feeling joy, you will be able to gain more from 1 hour of Torah study than from the many hours of studying when sad." The Orcher Tzadikim states in chapter 9 the following formula for happiness. If a person obtains all that he desires and nothing causing him sadness befalls him, he will constantly be happy. His face will shine, he will be physically healthy and be slow to show the signs of old age. At first glance, this passage seems to describe an unreachable utopian state, but with a closer look we can have insight in how to obtain happiness. First of all, refrain from desiring what is beyond your reach. The simpler your desires, the greater the chance you'll be able to meet their requirements. Anything extra you obtain beyond these demands will give you increased happiness, so you have nothing to lose and much to gain by lowering your demands and expectations. This does not rule out striving for realistic goals, only that you give up on your demands for things you are not able to obtain. Secondly, do not allow events to cause you sadness. At least in common day-to-day occurrences, try to master a perspective of life that will enable you to accept what happens without becoming sad. This is elaborated on later on. Truly happy person does not allow his happiness to be dependent on any external factor over which he may not control. One who makes his happiness dependent on wealth, fame, success, or where external factors will not be able to master happiness, external factors will be his master. Only by mastering a positive attitude to life's varied situations will you have a guarantee of happiness. Seek happiness in a way that depends only on yourself. We see this concept in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, chapter 4, Mishnah 1, which states that the wise man is one who learns from everyone. The honorable person is one who honors others, independent of whether others honor him. The wealthy person is one who is satisfied with what he has. This Mishnah clearly teaches us not to seek or demand happiness via factors dependent on anything external to us. This concludes our shir today on happiness. However, we'd like you to please come visit us at JewishEverything.net. Once again, JewishEverything.net, where you can listen to Jewish music, Jewish radio, Jewish videos, Jewish television, and over 200,000 Torah lectures on any subject you want. Talmud, Mishnayos, Mishnah Berurah, Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, Jewish law, Parshios. We have, in fact, over 40 different commentaries on all the Parshios. We have Jewish history, we have Jewish holidays, we have much more, all at JewishEverything.net. And thank you for listening, and please tell your family and friends to visit us online at JewishEverything.net.